The morning sun streamed through the windows of a small coffee shop in Seattle, a place where many young professionals gathered before work to sip their lattes and prepare for the long day ahead. Among them sat Daniel Miller, a 35-year-old man who had built a reputation as someone who always listened more than he spoke. Daniel wasn't flashy, and he didn't command attention in a crowded room, but those who knew him well respected his presence. His calmness wasn't the absence of emotion, but a result of years of practicing Stoicism, an ancient philosophy he had stumbled upon after going through a difficult breakup in his 20s. Daniel had learned that life was not about controlling other people's thoughts or actions, but about controlling his own responses. He reminded himself daily of Marcus Aurelius's words, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That morning, his best friend Michael walked in. Michael was the opposite of Daniel, charismatic, loud, and always trying to impress. He flopped into the chair across from Daniel with a sigh. "Man, I don't get it," Michael said, running a hand through his hair. "I take women out to the nicest restaurants, I compliment them, I try to do everything right, but somehow they always lose interest after a while. What am I missing?" Daniel looked at his friend, a faint smile on his lips. He had heard this complaint many times before. Michael thought relationships were about winning someone's affection through charm or performance, but Daniel had discovered something different. "Do you really want to know?" Daniel asked quietly. "Of course I do," Michael replied. "If you've got some secret, don't hold out on me. I mean, look at you. You never try hard, and yet women respect you. They're drawn to you. How do you do it?" Daniel leaned back, his calm voice steady. "There's something I say, not as a trick, not as a line, but as a truth. When spoken from a place of honesty, no woman, or man for that matter, can resist its power. It's not about manipulation, it's about respect." Michael leaned in closer, curious. "Okay, so what is it?" Daniel replied, "I tell them, I don't need you to be perfect. Just be yourself, and I'll meet you with respect and understanding." Michael frowned. "That's it? That doesn't sound like some magical charm." Daniel chuckled. "It's not meant to be magic. It's Stoicism. People are tired of pretending to be perfect. Women especially often feel pressured to look, act, and speak a certain way. But when you tell someone they don't need to put on a mask, you give them freedom. And freedom builds trust. Trust builds connection. That's something no amount of expensive dinners or empty compliments can buy." Michael sat back, letting the words sink in. Later that week, Daniel found himself invited to a gathering at a local community center. He often volunteered there, helping young people learn about philosophy, resilience, and life skills. That night, there was a panel on modern relationships, and Daniel was asked to share his perspective. The room was filled with people of all ages, teenagers, young adults, even older couples who wanted to strengthen their bonds. Among them was Emily, a 32-year-old teacher who had recently moved to Seattle. She had endured heartbreak after heartbreak and carried a quiet heaviness with her. She wasn't there to find someone new, but rather to heal. Daniel spoke in his calm, grounded way. "We often chase affection as if it's a prize to be won. But people are not prizes. They are human beings with flaws, strengths, and struggles. If you say to someone, 'I don't need you to be perfect, I only ask for honesty and respect,' you offer them something rare, acceptance. And when people feel accepted, they stop resisting connection." Emily sat in the back, tears welling in her eyes. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. Her past relationships had been filled with pressure to live up to impossible standards. She had often felt she wasn't enough, no matter how hard she tried. After the talk, she approached Daniel. "What you said tonight, it hit me harder than I expected," she admitted. Daniel smiled warmly. "I'm glad it resonated. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our integrity, our compassion. Everything else is beyond us. When we stop trying to control others, we free both them and ourselves." Emily nodded. "It's just, I've spent years trying to be perfect for people who never seemed satisfied. To hear that someone values honesty over perfection, it feels like a weight off my shoulders." They talked for hours, not in the flirtatious way Michael always tried, but with authenticity. Daniel listened deeply, and Emily found herself sharing parts of her story she rarely told anyone. Meanwhile, Michael had decided to test Daniel's advice. The following weekend, he went on a date with Sarah, a woman he had admired for months. Instead of showering her with rehearsed compliments, he tried something new. Over dinner, Sarah confessed, "I feel like people only see me as successful because of my career. But the truth is, I struggle with anxiety every day, and I hide it because I don't want to look weak." Michael felt the urge to brush it off with a reassuring joke, but Daniel's words echoed in his mind. Instead, he looked at her sincerely and said, "You don't need to hide that. You don't have to be perfect with me. Just be yourself, and I'll respect that." Sarah's eyes widened. She had expected judgment, maybe pity, but instead she found acceptance. In that moment, something shifted between them. Back in Seattle, Daniel and Emily grew closer over the weeks. Their bond wasn't built on instant attraction but on shared values and deep conversation. Emily often said, "You have this way of making me feel like I don't have to prove anything. I can just exist, and that's enough." Daniel would smile and reply, "That's because it is enough." We can't control how the world sees us, but we can choose how we see each other. Months passed, and Michael came to Daniel one morning, grinning ear to ear. "You were right, man. I told Sarah what you said, and it changed everything. She told me no one had ever given her that kind of freedom before. It's like the pressure disappeared, and now we're actually building something real." Daniel nodded. "It's not about the words themselves, Michael. It's about the truth behind them." Stoicism reminds us that relationships aren't about possession or performance, they're about partnership. When you free someone from the expectation of perfection, you allow love to grow naturally. Emily, who had been listening nearby, added softly, "And that's why no woman, or man, can resist it. Because deep down, we're all longing to be seen as we are, not as we think we should be." The lesson spread among their circle of friends, and eventually the community center asked Daniel to lead workshops on Stoic philosophy applied to everyday life. People who attended often walked away not just with advice about love, but with tools for resilience, patience, and peace. Years later, Daniel and Emily married in a simple ceremony overlooking the ocean. Michael stood as Daniel's best man, and Sarah was by his side. During his speech, Michael told the story of the one phrase that changed his life, and the room filled with laughter and nods of understanding.